I know that Wolfgang is not able to make it today, but he gave me his update, so I'll give an update on the ML side, which includes some exciting stuff. I also have some updates from Latent Explorer. I don't know if Latent Explorer will be joining today, but I will uh, provide some updates from the last time I chatted with him as well. Okay. I think we've got everybody up on stage that is part of the working groups, so we will just get started. Um, I'll go ahead and give the update from Wolfgang. I think there's been a lot of continued testing and development of the training code. Um, Over the weekend, Wolfgang is going to put an update together in the repo, the training pipeline repo that goes over the theory and some of the results of testing. He'll have that right up publicly available. It'll include some of the face, bedroom, and I think he's got like a more like artistic, creative monster type data set that he's using for testing. But he added Midas depth maps and canny edge calculations to the data set for control nets. The pipeline that he's using is ultimately taking the original image, going through VAE encoder as an input, and then the depth map and edge map of that image in a control transformer that's being passed in to control embeddings that are all being processed as part of the training loop alongside the text prompt, that text encoder going through the T5 as has been discussed. So I think that there's a lot of continued development and experimentation on the control element. And I believe the control net transformer architecture and interweaving of those outputs into the DIT for better conditioning are still that's still in process. But he's basically updating the training code and testing locally. He's only testing on a single GPU, so it's not like accelerated experimentation. He's waiting to use some of the hosted compute until he's ready and feels like it's ready to scale. He is planning on finalizing the hybrid tensor data parallelism after he confirms that the control net training is stabilized. Or I guess it's not really control net so much as like embedded control in the model. The graph that he put together that goes through kind of like the core training loop, and he'll be putting that into play or into the repo for visualization over the weekend. So that is his update. The last update that we had on the ML working group side from Latent Explorer was that he has done some really cool work. I think this last update was maybe about a week and a half ago. But he has a pretty strong development that he's calling RAVE, RAVE being resolution agnostic deep variational autoencoder. Maybe that name is still work in progress. He hasn't actually published yet, but once that is, it seems to be having a pretty significant efficiency improvement. Is similar to stable cascade in the sense of it's a kind of doing spatial compression. I think the factor size there is pretty large though, and is currently beating stable cascade by about 12%. Might even be more once he finishes optimizing the architecture and so on and so forth. But it is making a lot of progress, and he had some pretty decent results from a reconstruction perspective. I'll share out some of those in the chat so that people can see the reconstruction results. And yeah, I mean, I think that is going to be a pretty significant aspect of the training pipeline once that's finalized and released. We'll be incorporating that, and that will be open source research as well. So that's a pretty exciting development on that side. So I think that's everything on the ML working group team. Any questions from anyone, whether it's working group folks or the audience? Take that as that silence is a resounding no questions. All right, well then I guess I'll pass it over to Cheesy. You get to be the the data working group spokesperson today and share updates from the team.
Sounds good. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
All right. So just a few updates from the data group this week. We've added Sonar Cloud scans to the data pipeline repository, which will help ensure code continues to meet our expectations as the project continues. We've also had the operator of the Style Safari group join our working group, so they'll be able to help provide us some further information on what they've been trying over at Style Safari and get us something to play with style cluster wise in the near future. We also have some open PRs for the data pipeline repository, one for creating HDR screenshots, so some documentation and references for creating HDR screenshots with Blender, Godot Engine, and Unreal Engine. We've also got one for cleaning up some of the auth logic we migrated previously, just needs a tiny fix to move that forward. Unfortunately, our team lead who's been working on the actual image upload part has been out ill, so no updates on the HDR image collection part itself, really. And we've had a few volunteers that just been swamped with their day jobs, so that part's been a little slower than we'd like, but we're hoping to, continue that in earnest soon. We also, uh, for the image annotation process, the PR there has a few issues that Sonar Cloud has called out, so we're evaluating if those need fixed or if we need to tweak something on the Sonar Cloud side, but that's still an ongoing discussion. Lastly, we've been doing work on reviewing and updating the status of our open source security foundation best practices badge, including adding the badge to our README. But though I'll note, Kent, I still don't see the latest set of updates I think you said you made on the live page for that. So I don't know if you've tried hitting submit or how that works, but
Did hit submit, but I will take a look after our all hands to go through and re-evaluate whether that's been fully submitted.
yep.
It should have updated based on all of the input you had. If there are specifics that you are seeing that you did update but that aren't showing up, might be helpful to just let me know. That way I can vet whether I'm seeing that on the submission side as well, or like maybe I missed something, or whether it is just not submitting and not showing up.
I think it's still just not submitting. Like maybe check that in an incognito browser or something at some
Yeah,
point, just
yeah.
because it says the last updated October 15th still
Oh, okay. Yeah,
when I
we'll
refresh.
take
But
a look.
yeah, and let me know if you're not seeing that, if there's something wrong on my side.
Yeah,
Yeah. Otherwise, I think that is all for the data working group for
cool.
this update.
And I still have the AWS request out. It seems like the 30-day time frame is just a minimum, right? Or it's kind of like the standard. So we'll probably get an update in. I think we sent that and got the response on the 17th of October. So we were about 10 days before they have that fully reviewed. I'll shoot a follow up to them now and just see if there's a timeline on that. But we should probably hear from them within the next few days. That means that we'll have the AWS account and we'll be able to get the application up and running. So we should expect that we're kind of like all systems go and ready to use those in the next few days and get that site up. I'll also note that the Open Model Initiative was formally uh, announced as part of the Linux Foundation AI and Data Group. The press release went out, I think, yesterday, maybe. And there is a new Open Model Initiative site. I believe it is openmodel.foundation. I'll put that into the chat and people can see the official site that has been put up for the OMI. Once we have the data application available and people are able to start submitting data to the open source data set, that application will be linked to from the Open Model Initiative's website. I'll also be updating the icon for the OMI shortly to the new OMI branding and logo that has been finalized by the Linux Foundation. And yeah, we're kind of like moving into the more official. For anyone who's been paying attention over the last few months, we are moving into the more kind of like official and well established phase of this journey. We are fully adhering to a lot of the Linux Foundation AI and data's requirements. That's where security and evaluation around code quality and standards and all of that stuff is effectively part of the structure and rigor around the project. It does create a little bit of friction and slowdown and kind of making some progress. As mentioned, we have to go through and actually address a lot of the items that come up from that. But ultimately, I think that's going to prove to make the project a little bit more sustainable and enduring over the long term. So we've got the support there. I'll also note that a lot of the initial compute interest that had been offered when the OMI first started, a lot of that has like disappeared and vanished in the sense of it's easy to offer something up front, and then when people actually ask to get the servers and get access, the access just suddenly vanishes or they're gone. But I think the Linux Foundation has been really helpful in building some relationships that will actually get us compute. The AWS request for the data application is really the smallest of our needs as the OMI. We have some light compute that is going to be able to start training and testing the initial architecture, but we're still in search of the broader compute to support the model training. It's going to take a significant amount of compute, estimated in the range of like millions of dollars at list price for a lot of the GPUs. And so that piece is still an open item that we are actively looking for support in connecting with potential sponsors and partners. We do have some potentially interested partners, but we're currently waiting to get some of the initial testing results together so that we can present the innovation that's been developed by both Wolfgang and Alessio and Latent Explorer, showing that we've kind of accomplished a new way of training at a much faster and more efficient clip with additional capabilities like control embedded inside of it, will ultimately make that I think a more compelling proposition rather than, hey, we're a bunch of internet nerds that want to train a model. Showing that we've actually got some innovation and are, done some due diligence and proving it out, I think will help us with getting some of that compute support. So all of that is moving along. I think very candidly, it takes more time than I would like when you are an open source and completely volunteer driven group to make some of this happen. But I think the important thing to note is that it is happening. It is moving along. A lot of the work that the data pipeline team has done is really extremely valuable and impressive on its own. If that were the only thing that we developed as a team, I would call that a win, because I think the captioning pipeline and a lot of the workflows that have been developed are really, really robust and powerful. I think it's a huge, huge accomplishment on its own, but it's just part of the broader mission. The training pipeline, the work that we're doing there and innovating on that, I think all of that is going to be hopefully extremely valuable. Whether we train the model, whether someone else takes the research and trains the model on it, we're pushing the open ecosystem forward, and we're going to continue to work on getting the OMI model trained. I think the other piece that's a fun part of this is that because everything is moving so fast, there are a lot of new developments and new techniques that have come out since we started training or started the development of the architecture. And so there's a lot of questions to ask around, whether we account for some of that and include that in the pipeline or change our approach. There's a lot of that to still be discussed. I think we need to kind of balance both the realities of the timeline, but also the aspirations of what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, training a model and getting that out that's open source and competitive is going to be the biggest goal. So all of that's still working or in progress and work in progress. But we're making that progress and there is momentum. So we'll continue to push that forward. If there are folks who are interested in supporting, as has been called out, we've grown some of the working group teams. I think the way to get involved is to jump in, not to wait to be asked. So if you want to participate, let us know, and we're happy to discuss where you can plug in. But there's a lot of work being done and a lot of ways to get involved. Any other questions or items that people want to raise for conversation in the working group, or are we all done for today? Vlad, anything from your side? I know I surprised you, and you're probably trying to find the unmute button, so I'll take silence as a no.
Hey, you are absolutely right.
Yeah.
No updates. Thank you.
Okay, all good. Cool. Well, very excited. If folks do have questions, feel free to shoot those over to us. We'll get those answered in the chat. But aside from that, appreciate everyone attending today, and we'll keep you all updated as progress is made. Some exciting stuff on the horizon. Talk soon. Bye.